NASCAR Cup Series race. Here are your hosts, Kevin Batstone, NASCAR Sky, and Jeff Davis.
Welcome back, race fans, to another episode of Mash the Gas podcast. My name is Kevin Batstone. We are here to break down the Cracker Barrel 400 from the Nashville Superspeedway. Joining me shortly is Mr. Jeff Davis, and joining me now, Miss NASCAR Sky. Sky, you called it 2 in a row. Who mashed it the hardest?
Gotta give it to the 12, Ryan Blaney. And honestly, not even just Ryan Blaney, that entire 12 team. They really had it together on pit road. I know they made some changes last month, and it definitely seems to be working out. So, and not even just pit road. I mean, staying head in the game, you know, knowing that you got 5 DNFs, but you can still come back. All it takes is one win, and now he's finally got it.
Super cool race. I really enjoyed it, and good for Ryan Blaney. It's kind of cool that all 3 of the Penske cars are in the playoffs. No other team has all of their drivers in there right now. So yeah, good call on that one, Sky. You picked it out last week, getting his 14th career win and his first one in Nashville. Ryan Blaney did it really solid. And I think you guys might agree with me as far as, you know, I was seeing Joey Logano kind of come up there at the end. I'm thinking, oh shit, we're going to see again what we saw last year. But no, it didn't happen. Ryan Blaney just had that speed.
Those guys were consistent, and Jonathan Hassler is, you know, once again proves why he is a championship crew chief. I mean, these guys just work so well together. They find ways to get to the front. You know, didn't unload with the best speed, started P15, but those guys just got better and better as the night went on. And now, you know, Ryan Blaney can approach these next 12 races a little bit differently. I mean, he's locked into the playoffs. Not that I didn't think the 12 would have, you know, not pointed his way in, but we just don't know how many winners we're going to see. And I think that these guys could just race a little bit more aggressively now, you know, roll the dice on pit strategy, fuel strategy, and just try to rack up some wins. Because now that he got that monkey off his back, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the 12 win another 2 or 3 races before we get to the playoffs.
That was his strategy going in. I know they were asking him before the race, and he said, you know, I got to get that one so that we can, you know, go through and get a bunch. So I definitely see that this probably is going to be big motivation, you know, having that momentum. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if he goes and wins 5 or, you know, I mean, up to 5 more races. Really, I could see the 12 doing that. But it was some pretty good racing, especially like, you know, the end of stage 1, the end of stage 2. I don't know what you guys thought, but especially at the end of stage 2, I mean, my mouth was kind of dropped for a while. I was surprised that the 3 guys were going at it. You know, same with stage 1, but I was so impressed with the racing. I had a lot of fun watching this race. That's one word I can say, like really good fun.
It was totally awesome. You know, when we had Blaney in there, we had the 24, Blaine Byron, Joey was up there. I mean, it was just really, really good racing. It was fun. I thought it was overall just a kick-ass race. Totally right. And, you know, like Kevin just mentioned, now that he's got the monkey off his back with the 12 car, he is going to push a little bit further. They're going to take more risks. You know, they can push it. All 3 of the Penske drivers can do it. It's like, you know, we're already in, so we might as well push it just a little bit harder and see what happens. I mean, yeah, they might drop a little bit in point standings overall, but they're in. So again, man, really, really cool to see it. I loved it. But what I really want to talk about is number 77, Carson Hocevar, you guys. I mean, he did a kick-ass job getting to the front and getting, you know, P2 out of that. But as far as that incident, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, look, Hocevar continues to be in the conversation, you know, with the exception of a few DNFs. He had the blown motor, had some tires go down. This kid can drive, and he's proven it for sure. Now, it's coming at an expense that we saw similar to what Ross Chastain did a few years ago. You know, and Carson's going to say what he needs to say in his post race. You know, I'm just racing like everyone races me. It is what it is. You know, going back and looking at it though, that, you know, that stage of the race, I think it was a little aggressive on the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse there. You know, definitely got into the back of him, got him up the hill, and took him out. I mean, that ended his day. So, you know, if you race like that and you constantly do that, Denny Hamlin said on Actions Detrimental earlier today, he says, you know, Carson hasn't done anything to me yet personally, but Denny definitely made it clear that if and when he does, Denny's going to retaliate immediately. And Denny went on to say that he thinks that Ricky is going to wreck Hocevar at one of the upcoming races.
It's interesting you bring that up because I was watching, you know, the post race after the fact, and Carl Edwards was mentioning this, and he brought up the fact that a lot of people have said that, you know, oh, I'm gonna get him back, I'm gonna wreck him, like just wait till I see you again. But what has been done? It's like everyone says stuff. It's very interesting, like how when he was wording it, really was like, yeah, like, you know, Stenhouse is not the first one to say something about Carson Hocevar. If I'm not mistaken, I think Kyle Busch also said something similar to that or something along those lines. So to me, it's just like, either you're gonna do it or you're not. You can't keep saying it because you're gonna keep saying that's just gonna fuel Carson. Like it's gonna make his head bigger, I guess. Like, hey, I can still do it. They're gonna say they're gonna retaliate, but they never do.
These guys have a memory for a long time, though. It might not be in the next one, two, three, four races. It might be towards the end. It might even be next year. But Sky, you kind of brought it up with the Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse incident that happened at the All-Star race last year, where Ricky Stenhouse threw a punch at Kyle Busch, right after the wreck, and it was pretty heated. It was fun to watch. Hell, I loved it. But Josh Berry made a comment after the race, and he said, you might finally see the 77 getting punched after that. And he was directly referencing that Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse incident that happened last year. So, who knows if we'll see retaliation out of it or not. The guy's definitely got potential. He's a damn good driver. Like we've talked about in a few podcasts earlier, he needs to get be a little bit more respectful, in my opinion, because he is kind of pulling what the number one car of Chastain did his rookie year, and Chastain's gotten a lot better at it. But we'll have to sit and find out to see what happens if the 77 does get a little get confrontational with the 47.
Well, I mean, he can't keep going about it this way. Something's either going to have to be done, or the rest of the field is just basically saying that, hey, we're going to allow it. It's a different type of racing. This isn't the Dale Earnhardt Sr. Intimidator days anymore. I mean, that was a normal move for Dale Sr. He would do that every other Sunday. Guys would be wrecked, and Dale didn't make a lot of friends. But again, different style of racing. It's a different era. So Hocevar has the talent. He's got the speed. He doesn't need to be wrecking guys to come up through the field. He's proven he can get up there, contend for top fives. They're fast in qualifying. He's one thing he has on his side, though, if it comes down to a physical altercation, is Hocevar is like 6'2". He's kind of a big guy. So to see one of the 5'8", 5'9" average height guys go up against that would be kind of interesting. But the fact remains, he's not making a lot of friends out there.
Yeah, he's not. But like I said, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But another thing I really took on this race was Bubba Wallace got a really good finish for the last four races. This is the first race he has not had a DNF in the last four races. The last three races he had a DNF. So to see him come through the field and be able to get a P6, I thought was really cool for him. Probably brought his not ego, but a little more confidence in his racing and stuff, because like I said, he's been struggling over the last four races.
Yeah, he definitely has. I remember there's something happened to him on pit road. I can't remember if it was a penalty, if he was speeding, or if it was a tire issue or something, but I'm glad to see that he recovered from that. I didn't catch that at the end, but yeah, and that's one of the things where that's on you, that's on Bubba. It's not something you can blame your team for. So I'm glad to see you recover from that. That's the type of mindset you want, to not let something little like speeding, especially early in the race, kind of pin you down. That's what that team needed. I mean, 23XI didn't they were kind of up and down day yesterday, especially with the wreck towards the end of the race there. So it's definitely good for Bubba Wallace. It's good momentum. I definitely like to see that for that team.
Yeah, 23XI. I mean, I don't think they're where they want to be yet. Tyler Reddick obviously had that unfortunate deal with the tire that went down. I really thought that he was going to be our race winner. I picked him last week, had some pretty good speed, started fourth, but then, after that tire incident on pit road, he really just couldn't recover. But, great recovery by Bubba, almost going a lap down there, stayed on the lead lap at the end of the stage, was able to battle for track position all the way up. And I don't know if you guys saw the post race when he came up to the booth there with Daniel Trotta and the guys. He was completely spent. He's like, I'm cooked. You could just see. And it wasn't even that hot. It was 20 degrees cooler this year than it was last year in Nashville. So the track temperature was a little bit lower. And, all in all, I think that made for the tire wear, it made it interesting, right? We didn't really see the fall off that we've seen at other racetracks. We kind of knew that with the concrete surface, but, it doesn't lay down the marbles like we see on asphalt. It's just a totally different racing surface, and it could get really, really slick if those guys got out of the groove.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. It gets really slick. It doesn't build up the rubber like we see it, so there wasn't as much grip. I do know it was pretty damn humid down there. But what we were talking about with Bubba, with as good as he did, I know he had, like I said, last three races besides the Nashville one here, 3 DNFs in a row. But this was his 5th top 10 finish this season, so he's kind of like hit or miss. He does either really well or not. But with 2311 in their racing, I had the 45 car in my lineup, and that tire, when he blew it out, it really sucked. But I really love seeing him when he stands next to Michael Jordan. I mean, Tyler Reddick barely comes up to Michael Jordan's chest. And I just laugh like crazy every time I see it about how small that guy is. But really, really good kid. And I think, 2311's got a good team, man. They've got some potential. They got a good ways to go. And it's going to be good to see him coming up.
Yeah, and 23XI is obviously expanding. We saw another race there with Corey Hyman, that 67, got involved, in that wreck on the front straightaway. I couldn't really tell if Brad Keselowski pinched him there or if Hyman just misjudged the exit of turn four. I think we saw that happen a lot to guys in practice, and just the way that Nashville Superspeedway is, that turn four, that wall comes up at you quick. And so that could have just been a rookie move, not really knowing the size of these, cup cars. But, more seat time for Corey Heim. Obviously hasn't been getting the finishes that he wants yet in the cup side.
Yeah, I think Corey Heim just kind of clipped him a little bit on the back end, unfortunately for Brad Keselowski, because he was doing pretty damn well. That was on lap 130. So just unfortunate contact. But like I said, a little more seat time, and I think he'll go a long ways.
Yeah, they have a really, really good lineup. I mean, the only thing, Tyler Reddick this year, I mentioned it before, he's just having such an off year, but this was a good race for him. I mean, he still finished P9, so hopefully they can keep that momentum going forward. Now that, I don't know, Blaney got a win. Hopefully, some of these other drivers that were waiting on a win, like I said, Tyler Reddick is someone that you definitely think would have already won by now, especially how he's performed the last few years. So I'm also noticing, I didn't realize that Christopher Bell finished top 10. That's pretty impressive since, he had that wreck there, that spin there too. So that's awesome for him. Denny got P3, and then, they started on the front row. Joe Gibbs did. We were mentioning them the last podcast, saying they got to pick it up, but this was a pretty decent race for them.
Yeah, able to put it together. I was really impressed with the 20 of Seabell, and I mean, it looked like a pretty good impact going in. I think it was either Eric Jones or John Hunter Nemechek. One of those guys drove down into one there and just got him a little bit loose and put him up in the fence. Yeah, it was Eric Jones who came home with a P7 top 10 finish. But I mean, by the looks of it, I mean, even Steve Letarte up in the booth was like that. There's no way, they'll get it back out there, but that to be able to contend for position was pretty amazing. So good drive there by Christopher Bell. And, Denny Hamlin, good run for him, right? 79 laps led. We didn't know if he was going to be at the racetrack. He was on baby watch with Jordan, obviously, getting ready to go into labor here any minute. So that ended up working out, led 79 laps, had the Xfinity fast lap of the race. So all in all, pretty solid points day for the 11.
Yeah, the 11 did a really damn good job. And you're right, with Christopher Bell spinning on lap 119, like I said, Letarte, I thought he was done. I thought he was out of the race, so him to be able to come back up from the adversity of that was really, really cool. But you mentioned Denny Hamlin a minute ago, as good as he did, man, he was super pissed off at his pit crew because that hose did come off of the back of his helmet as far as fresh air. He was hot, he was pissed, and you could see it in his face. When they had him, he had his visor up. And when you have your visor up and you're in dirty air like that, you're getting the smell of the exhaust, the track, you're getting wind in your face. He doesn't have any glasses covering anything. So he had a really hard time seeing, and just to be able to finish where he did, I thought was really remarkable and shows just how damn well, how good of a driver Denny Hamlin is.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the veterans of the sport. I mean, he does so well. It was such an unfortunate situation. But he also got the Xfinity fastest lap, which I don't know who's all won them, but I feel like Denny's won them a lot. So that's gonna definitely help towards, the later half of the year in the playoffs, which Denny and the 11 team sometimes struggle. So that's really good for them.
Hey, and another thing about the 11, as far as all-time winners in the Cup Series, he's in 11th place. He still hasn't won a Cup yet, but he's got 56 wins under his belt right now. He's got 4 races to be in the top 10 to tie with Kevin Harvick. Do you guys think he can do it? Is he going to be there long enough with Joe Gibbs to do it? Or is he going to have to wait until he just does one-off races with 23XI with his own team? Because 4 more races and he will be tied in the top 10.
I think he's going to do it. I mean, Denny's got the talent. He's got the sponsorship, he's got the team, and he still has the drive. I mean, he's got 2 wins on the season. We just mentioned he led almost 80 laps, fastest on the track. I mean, he's there. He's definitely going to be in the conversation. 4 wins is easily obtainable for him. Obviously, he wants to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship. That would be the biggest trophy for him. But clicking off wins, I think he gets into the top 10 for sure. I say Denny goes another 2 seasons before he makes, a decision on, does he go part-time at 23XI or does he just become a full-time owner? It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I definitely feel like he will probably surpass Kevin Harvick for sure. And I don't think that I don't know, I agree. I think he's got like 2 or 3 years left in him. I don't know. He might be old by the books, but he doesn't seem that old, especially with how he keeps up with everything in the podcast. He seems like, I don't know, I seem like he's still got a lot of juice left in him for sure.
It definitely has a drive. I mean, you hear it from him, you hear it from his podcast. If anyone's watched the NASCAR on Netflix. I'm trying to remember which network. We got so many damn networks these days. On Netflix, that NASCAR series that they had, Denny Hamlin, he does. Sky, you're right. He's got that drive. He's there. So I think, yeah, he probably will have a couple more seasons in him. I think you're right. I think he will get there in the top 10, maybe tie or even surpass Kevin Harvick there. But another thing I wanted y'all's opinion on about Eric Jones, because we've been talking about him a little bit here and there. I know he finished in the top 10 this week. He got a P7, if I remember correctly. But in the last last 9 seasons, he's only won 3 times. So he's been in NASCAR for 9 years. As far as point standings, he hasn't done very well. He's never finished better than 15th in his entire career. Does he deserve to be in the Cup Series? Do we need another driver in the 43 car? I don't know if Eric Jones has what it takes. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think we have to look at the same argument that's used with Kyle Busch at RCR as Legacy Motor Club, right? These guys, I mean, the 42, the 43, and then, obviously when Jimmy does run that 84 car, they're just not putting up results. I mean, this was a strong run for them. Obviously the shifting to Toyota has been an adjustment for them, but it's really going to depend. I mean, is it an Eric Jones problem or is it an equipment problem? I think that's the big question. I mean, even when he was running in Joe Gibbs' equipment, we really didn't see him in victory lane, but he was a hell of a lot more consistent than he is now. So I think that's a time will tell thing. And I believe he still has a year or two left on his contract with Legacy Motor Club.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely don't want to say he's undeserving, but I can definitely see where, I mean, he was decent in JGR equipment. So coming down to, equipment that isn't quite up to par, I could see how he's probably doing the best that he can. But I do feel like sometimes he's outrun by some of his other teammates. So, I mean, it's definitely a tough decision. He'll probably finish out the contract, maybe be around another year or two, but maybe he'll find a home somewhere else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we go forward with that. And since we're kind of on that subject, I also want to get you guys' opinion on Ty Gibbs. He's failed to have a win in his first 100 career Cup starts, and he's currently sitting, I think, about 25th or 26th in the standings. If you were Joe Gibbs Racing, would you make a change to the lineup? I don't know. That's tough. I know it's his granddad and everything. But look at Ty Dillon and Austin Dillon. Just because they're grandsons of Richard Childress, well, Ty Dillon just wasn't. He couldn't keep it going, so he had to let him loose. What do you guys think about Ty Gibbs?
Well, again, we talked about him a little bit throughout the year and kind of the sophomore slump, if you will. I mean, we've seen him put together good finishes. I think last year was a much better, year for him, and I think we keep waiting for. When is the 54 going to contend? When's he going to be up there? It just seems like those guys don't have the speed that his teammates have. I mean, we just got done talking about how Christopher Bell drove a wrecked race car up to 10th and how Denny Hamlin had the fastest car of the race. So, it might be a talent thing there. It's just tough to say. He's still young. He still has a lot of opportunity to prove himself. He's got Monster Energy as a sponsor there. So, and like you mentioned, it's a grandson of the owner. So there's a lot of moving parts there that are going to go into that decision.
I definitely feel like it's just a little too early because I remember Ty Gibbs the first time he raced in Xfinity, he won that race. Like he came in, won the race. Like you don't just do that and not have talent. And it was a road course too. So I don't know. I definitely feel like he has it. I don't know if it's just adjusting to these cup guys, adjusting to this, cup car. Just, I don't know. But he definitely has a good security blanket for sure. But he better hope that he can get this stuff ironed out soon. But I don't put too much pressure on him. He is just super young. So I feel like we'll know probably in the next few years, kind of more where you could probably place him.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Sky. I think you're right on that one. And since we're talking about these guys coming and going, who's good, who's not, I did hear from Bob Pockers talking about Penske and Austin Cindric last week. We talked a lot about his dad Tim Cindric on the IndyCar side getting released from Penske's from the IndyCar series. But he said, as far as Austin Cindric is concerned, he said he had a good talk with him, and he's got a lot of stuff going on right now, and his contract is good, and there's no need to even be talking about Austin Cindric. It shouldn't even be a topic right now at all. And he definitely sees Austin Cindric in the winner's circle. He's already been there once this year, so as long as he keeps it up there, I don't think it'll affect his career over there at Penske at all.
Well, that's obviously good for him to hear and his fans and sponsors and everything. He's got that win at Talladega. His Team Penske's fast. I mean, we saw those guys. All three of them were up there together at one point. I mean, obviously Cindric came home P18 on the lead lap, but not the finish he was looking for. Started P16. But I mean, Cindric, he's definitely got the talent. He's got the equipment. If I'm Roger Penske, I'm not too concerned about really any of these drivers. I mean, Team Penske is just a powerhouse. All three of these guys can win. Ryan Blaney obviously is going to be in the conversation again as a championship favorite because we see this out of Blaney a lot, right? I mean, what was it, 2, 3 years ago? He made it all the way to the third round of the playoffs without a win. And he's able to turn it on when he needs to. Like his wife said in the NASCAR series, go be Ryan fucking Blaney.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it, man. I actually just watched that episode last night because I was getting to the end. I hadn't finished them all yet, but I was there. But yeah, I agree, man. Penske has got it going on right now. I mean, if you look at the playoffs right now, yeah, there's some guys ahead of him as far as playoff points and whatnot. But to have all three, and Ryan Blaney's got to win. He's 8 points to the positive. Joey Logano's got to win. He's 7 points to the positive. Cindric's tied with him with 1 win and 7 points to the positive. No other team can say that. I mean, you look at Hendrick Motorsports. Yeah, Kyle Larson does have 3 wins, and as far as playoff points, he's 23 points in the positive. But William Byron, even though he only has 1 win, he actually is leading in as far as overall driver points. He's number 1 because he has won so many stages. He's got 547 points to the positive, and Kyle Larson's next to him in 499. But Chase Elliott, he's doing good in the playoff points, and he's still in the playoff picture. He's in the positive by 143 points. Doesn't have a win yet. So him, and then Alex Bowman's, he's still 45 points in the positive. So Hendrick's doing really well, but Bowman, we're gonna have to see what he can get out of it. We're gonna see if Chase Elliott can get a win. So it's kind of weird to see this late, or not this late, but I don't know, this far in the season so far, and to not see at least Chase Elliott have a win.
Well, I mean, you got to go all the way back to Texas last year, 2024, since Chase Elliott found victory lane. And prior to that, it was Kansas a year and a half before that. So Chase just really, I mean, when we look at Hendrick Motorsports, he's consistent. I mean, he'll rattle off top 15, top 10s, maybe a stage win here or there, if the strategy falls in his lap. But I just don't have the 9 as a strong team right now. I mean, you look at his teammate Kyle Larson, who started 28th, got caught up in almost 2 wrecks on the racetrack, somehow drives his way to 8th. I mean, there was like 2 times in the race. I'm like, glad I didn't pick Larson. He's mowered way back there. Still found a way to get a top 10 out of it.
Yeah, it's interesting with the 9. I mean, it's ever since the whole leg injury. I feel like, I guess with the change of the car and then being set back because of the leg injury, it's just, he hasn't been the same Chase Elliott, and it's unfortunate. It's almost like that entire 9 team is just going through the motions. I don't want to say not like they don't want to be there, but there's not really a lot of spunk, not a lot of energy, not a lot of, I don't know, not a lot of life going on there. So hopefully he could turn it around. Like, he is consistent, but consistent can only do so much anymore. Eventually, let's say we get 16 winners. Consistent's not going to do much for you then if you don't have a win.
That's a good point. No, it really is. At some point, Chase Elliott needs to win, and I'm probably going to piss off Elliott Nation by saying this, but I really don't understand why he's NASCAR's most popular driver. Outside of being a Nepo baby, and we know what Bill Elliott did through all those years, is it Dale Jr. performed. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won 28 Cup races, didn't get a championship. Chase does have that over Jr., right? Chase did win the 2020 championship, which probably elevated his level with the fans. But I just see there's a lot of guys out there that I think can make an argument to take NASCAR's most popular driver this year.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there as well. I love Chase Elliott, and I love Hendrick Motorsports overall. I think they're a great organization. The personalities that these guys all have are really positive. They're great guys. But Chase Elliott, he is pretty bland, whether he's doing really well or whether he's doing really bad. And like Sky mentioned, I don't know if the excitement is there with the team, or the just the overall enthusiasm. They seem to be just kind of content. But I don't think Rick Hendrick will ever let go of him. Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon, they choose these drivers for the long haul for the most part. We heard a little bit about William Byron getting signed, another 4 years. He said he's going to be here until he retires. And I could totally see that. That's kind of how Hendrick Motorsports has modeled their organization for the most part. It seems like, usually there's 3 of the 4 drivers that wind up starting their career there and ending their career there. Obviously, we've seen some changes, and I have heard a little, scuttlebutt about people on, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, talking about how, being with the Spire Motorsports kind of has an affiliation with Hendrick Motorsports Do you guys think that Carson Hocevar in the 77 eventually, if he gets his act together, might wind up at Hendrick Motorsports and maybe even replace Alex Bowman if Alex Bowman doesn't start lifting it up and kind of getting the game together a little bit more? I mean, Alex Bowman's doing a decent job, but with Carson Hocevar being a rookie, and if he gets his shit together on the track, I don't know. Do we see him with Hendrick Motorsports down the road?
Well, I think Hocevar is going to be attractive to a lot of race teams. Like you said, once he gets it together, kid's young. He's got a lot of years ahead of him in this sport, and he's going to be in a conversation almost weekly, and he's going to find victory lane soon. That's a tough one to analyze though, because the 48 obviously has great sponsorship with Ally. Bowman's been there enough years. He's considered kind of a veteran driver, if you will, compared to some of these other young guns. It's just going to depend. I mean, we never thought we would see Kyle Busch depart JGR after Mars and M&M's pulled out. And
Right.
Kyle Busch ran the Kellogg's #5 for Rick Hendrick, if you want to go all the way back. So, it's not completely uncommon for Hendrick to move a driver or two around, but I more look at some of these guys getting ready to exit, like a Denny Hamlin. I think we kind of already know. If I had to guess, I feel like JGR is going to want to put Corey Heim in that seat unless Denny locks him into a full-time 23XI position. We're going to have some seats opening up here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, I can't say that I would think that Carson would go there. I'm not saying that he wouldn't, because I feel like Carson, I like him as a driver. I feel like, well, not as a driver, I feel like he's a lot of potential. He does need to calm down aggressively bad, but I don't know. I feel like he has like that drive, that passion to win, and that's something I like in drivers. Someone like Chase Elliott, like you were mentioning, how is he sports most popular? He doesn't really have that much personality. Like he's not giving much, he's not doing much. Whereas someone like Carson Hocevar, he's on social media, he's engaging with fans, he's showing, he's just this goofy kid who races cars. And yeah, he's kind of stupid, but I don't know, he kind of makes it work. And I feel like, I don't know, that might be a lot for Hendrick to handle. I guess he likes to have his drivers, lock and key, keeping their mouths kind of shut. But as for Alex Bowman, is it that he really is doing that bad, or is it that, he's teammates with Kyle freaking Larson and, William Byron, these two like powerhouses, which maybe you can put William Byron down a little bit, but I mean, Kyle Larson's like one of the best. So it kind of isn't, it works against Bowman and even everything that he works for, I think. Even if he's not that bad, he's not going to be Larson level, and it'll always make him look worse.
Yeah, you're right. It's tough because when you've got the creme de la creme of some of these drivers, Kyle Larson, in my opinion, is the Tony Stewart of race car these days. I mean, he races every single thing, and he can win in every kind of car you put him in. Kyle Larson, to me, right now, is the best driver out there on the circuit. He's definitely there. And William Byron, compared to last year, I mean, right now, yeah, he only has one win, but he's up there. He's going to be winning races. He'll probably finish with Hendrick. So it's hard to say, because you don't want to let go of the most popular driver in NASCAR. Even though he's kind of, I don't want to say he's lagging too much, because like I said, as far as playoffs, he's 10th in standings. He's 143 points to the positive, but he doesn't have the oomph like he kind of used to a little bit. But as far as the 77 of Carson Hocevar, yeah, you're right. He's young, and it's like he's unapologetic in a way. You got to admit that he's kind of like, hey, I drive the way I drive, and people are kind of getting used to it. So it's going to take some time for him to mature a little bit. But eventually, I do see that there's a chance that he could go to Hendrick. I really do feel that there's this possibility, depending on how contracts roll out and his role with Spire. I don't know if he'll wind up with Hendrick or not. But like Kevin mentioned, we see guys like, Kyle Busch going over to RCR. But I also kind of compare him with Denny Hamlin. Hamlin, with his Progressive Insurance sponsorship, has really kept some money coming in. He's got good sponsorship. I don't see him retiring from anywhere but Joe Gibbs, and then just doing some one-offs here and there with 23XI as his own team.
It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out over these next few years, but there is something about Carson and Larson that has a nice ring to it. If those guys ever get into a rivalry, or if they end up being teammates who have old Carson and Larson out there on the racetrack, that might just be something down the road. But, you're right. I mean, when we look at Hendrick, we're comparing against the best. I mean, they're all in the top 12 in points, Bowman being the lowest. Obviously, Byron and Larson kind of set in the way. And then you have Chase right there. I mean, Chase is just quietly in the picture, right? And that's I guess what keeps him relevant. Napa, all his sponsors. I mean, Chase is in a good position. He just needs to find victory lane. And I think similar to what we're going to see with Blaney here, that could kind of turn things around and give these guys momentum. But we just haven't seen the 9 leading laps. I mean, sure, we'll see him get up there in the top 3. We'll get good track position. But we saw it last night. He had opportunities to run in the top 5 and then just slowly just kept slipping back.
He did, Kevin, but it's like Chase Elliott. I mean, you have to look at him at the overall like points right now. I mean, we always have a couple drivers that get in on their way on points, and with him 143 points in the positive right now, even if he doesn't get a win, I think he's going to make it in the playoffs. Does he get a win? I'm not sure. Obviously, he doesn't do as well as he did on road courses before the next gen cars were around. Because he used to kill it on the road tracks, but I just don't see it anymore. And but he's still there. He's consistent. He's got some playoff points. So I don't know if anyone's going to point their way in at this stage of the year. I would say it'd be Chase Elliott.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like he could definitely get a win, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, there's still, like I said, there's some short tracks coming up, and that's where I feel like Chase Elliott's going to break through. It's probably going to be a short track, but we got Michigan next weekend now, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know how you guys are feeling on it.
The FireKeepers Casino 400. I love Michigan. A couple
Love it.
reasons why. I mean, it's our only 2-mile racetrack left on the circuit. Now that Fontana is, I mean, pretty much shot behind the barn and buried. I don't think we're going to see Fontana ever again now that the industrial warehouses have taken over that plot of land. Michigan's the only thing we have for a 2-miler, and it's a big race. It's in Ford's backyard, Chevrolet. They all want to put on a show for the manufacturers. You go back a year ago, and Tyler Reddick won this race. William Byron ran runner-up, and we were talking about Ty Gibbs. He had a top 3 there. So, when I look at Michigan, I really want to see what RFK has this weekend. This has always been a racetrack where the Fords do well and the speed is on display. Can Brad Keselowski finally get it done? Do we see Ryan Preece get it done? I think RFK coming out of the gate, I'm keeping an eye on those guys.
Yeah, Brad's definitely got a chance in doing it. I mean, we finished P5 last August in Michigan. I love it. It's a 2-mile track, like you said. It's our only one left. And you're right. It sucks that Fontana. They were saying, oh yeah, we're going to build a short track, and it's like I've seen the aerial views of it. They built warehouses all around it. I just do not see that happening. The only time I ever went to Fontana was maybe about 17, 18 years ago. It was quite a while back. And old Jimmy Johnson took first, Jeff Gordon took second, and old poor junior man got wrecked in the wall halfway through the race. But so I think Michigan is going to be a great race. I love it. It's like I said, it's the only 2-mile track left that we've got that's an oval on there. The turns, they're all consistent. We got a D-shaped oval with 18% turns. Your front stretch has a 12% banking. Your back stretch has a 5% banking. So it's a very unique track. It's the only one on the circuit. So I don't know. The guys I'm kind of looking at William Byron again. I really think, he finished P2 there last year. I think it's a good track for him. I think he runs very well on the 1.5 miles and put a 2-mile in front of his face. I think he's going to do damn good. But, Brad Keselowski, he got a P5 out of it last year. So we'll have to see what, him and Chris Buescher and Ford, see what he can do as well.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin. I'm definitely feeling RFK for sure. But Carson Hocevar also got a top 10, and we're talking about him. He finished P2. I mean, he's kind of got a little fire under him right now, so he's definitely someone else to keep an eye out. But I think, I got a lot of pressure. I said beforehand, this would be 3rd in a row if I can get this right. So I'm going to go with the number 17 of Chris Buescher. That's who I think is winning at Michigan.
Damn it, Sky, you took my pick just like I took yours last week. I was going to go with the 17 of Buescher. I'll switch it over to the 6 and get the hometown boys from Rochester Hills, Michigan. Brad Keselowski finally turns his season around and finds victory lane this Sunday.
All right. Well, it's tough because, Chris Buescher, I think I've said this a few times. He's 15 minutes down the road from where he grew up, is where I live. 15 minutes down the road up here in Texas. He's down there in Prosper. I know he's out in North Carolina right now, but I'm going to go with the number 24 of William Byron. I think he's going to get it done. I think he's got a fast race car. I think he's going to get his next win at Michigan next week.
I don't think Jeff has picked a single pick all year other than the 5 and the 24. So those should finally come into your hand, Jeff.
Hey.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Xfinity Series is off this weekend. We'll see them down in Mexico City. That's going to be fun next week, getting ready for it. We have no stats to go off of other than road courses in general, but Shane Van Gisbergen, is looking forward to that. But trucks are in action this weekend on Fox. and of course the Cup Series from Michigan on Prime. We have a little time left. I think Prime's been doing fantastic. I think we can all agree. Blows Fox out of the water. The pre-race, the practice, the qualifying, the interviews, it's more raw. They give you a perspective like you're standing there on the racetrack. I just, so far, I'm beyond impressed with Prime's coverage.
Pit stop times, I love it. They've actually been showing some pit stop times. It's like that's what we wanted to see out of Fox. We didn't get shit out of them, so I'm stoked.
Yeah, I love it. And I just love the commentary. Like whenever there's a wreck, like it feels like they actually care and they're actually watching. Especially, I mean, it's Dale Jr. He loves to yell, but he really just brings it. And I just love it so much.
Cousin Carl, I love seeing Cousin Carl up there with Daniel Trotta. I dig it, and Corey LaJoie is doing a pretty damn good job now that he's out of a race car. But either way, yeah, I think they're doing a really, really good job overall. It's beating Fox definitely.
Yeah, outstanding for sure. And speaking of Corey LaJoie, he'll be in the '07 truck this weekend for Spire. He's going to be out there running a truck race for the first time this season. So we'll see what LaJoie can put together before his prime coverage there. And the 2025 In the Season Challenge starts this weekend. We'll get into that a little bit next week and how all that breaks down. I'm still trying to understand it. It's like a bracket system that goes through from 32 drivers. There's $1 million on the line, and that's going to run through until we get to Indianapolis. So we'll break all that down next week. We are out of here. We are on to Michigan, the FireKeepers Casino 400. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Mash the Gas. Be sure to follow Sky over there at NASCAR Sky. And until then, y'all.
Mash the gas.